Art is a funny thing. Sometimes we appreciate it right away, whereas sometimes it takes us ages to even be able to decode it. Vincent van Gogh died thinking most of his art had failed. Emily Dickinson spent her entire life locked inside her room, writing masterclass on isolation that the world only fathomed once she was gone. We tend to have this habit of looking at a chaotic work of art and totally missing to look at the hidden architectural blueprint inside. And I think that's exactly what happened to the Tortured Poets Department, the 11th studio album by American singer, songwriter, and in my opinion, poet Taylor Swift. It is a systematic, devastatingly cohesive series of trauma. But to be able to see that, we have to completely dismantle it, decode it, and then rebuild it piece by piece. And today, that's exactly what we're gonna do. So grab a seat, turn the lights off, and gather around because we are about to take off. Hello everybody, I'm Ali and I'm honored to welcome you for the first time on the Saturn Department. So I'm a teacher. My entire life is built around helping my students to try and find structure in chaos, reading between the lines and decoding art. And the reason why I have named this space the Saturn Department is because I am turning 27 in a few hours. Astrology says that around that period of time, a person enters their Saturn return, which is basically a time period where everything is going crazy and you're trying to make sense out of things and nothing makes sense. So that's exactly what my life looks like at this point. So I thought, why don't I just make this space for all of us that are trying to make sense out of life, or or even if we just want an escape from all that crazy. So I just want you guys to leave all your worries, forget about all the chaos. You're here and we're all gonna have a really good time. And the reason why I chose the Tortured Poets Department as my very first video or my episode is I think it is such a complex topic, not just the album or the music itself, but the whole narrative, the whole subject, and the way Taylor Swift has chosen this theme to talk about her life in perspective. It's amazing. And one more thing that I really like about this music is when we usually listen to music, most of the times it's retrospective, meaning it's about the events that have already happened. It's kind of like an aftermath. However, this particular album, the Tortured Poets Department, yes, there are a few retrospective elements, but most of it is very introspective. She's talking about the events that are happening right now, the feelings, the ideas, the questions. Nothing makes sense, and this idea of being inside a Tortured Poets Department. So it's like you go on this journey with the writer or the poet, and I love this aspect about it. So I think that is one of the reasons why I thought this is a perfect subject. Now let me tell you what this video is not. This video is not a Taylor Swift super fan or a Swiftie trying to talk about how great her music is. It's not that. It is also not a name and shame video, meaning I am not going to be talking about, oh, this song is about that person, this song is about that person. We don't do that here. We don't need to get into drama. What this video is, as I said earlier, I'm a teacher. Over the years, I have learned how to use my experiences or other people's experiences or art in general and use my critical analysis skills to analyze it or to decode it or come up with my own narrative or come up with my own conclusion or trying to build a new narrative, because why not? So one thing, when I was doing my homework, I found out that a lot of people had complaints that it is not cohesive, which is funny to me. I think it is one of her most cohesive, most nuanced, detailed body of work that she's ever done. The only thing is, it might not be chronologically very clear, if that makes sense. So what I have done is I have rearranged, shuffled the track list. I have made it into 4 chapters. I have divided all the track listing into 4 chapters to make sense and come up with my narrative to prove my point that it is indeed a very cohesive body of work. There is a very clear narration, there is a very clear storyline, and there is a really interesting conclusion as well. Now I will also add the link to the Spotify playlist that I have created that supports this narrative. You don't need to listen to it right away. You can after this. But just to give you the experience, you can listen to it after this video. I will add the link in this video's description. Okay, as I said, I have divided into 4 chapters. First chapter is the delusion. We'll be talking about when she actually enters the tortured poets department, whether it's actually a place or it's just in her mind. Yeah, so I've got my teacher's glasses on, I've got my notes, I've got my diary, and I've got my purple pen. And most importantly, I've got my cup of tea, nice and lemony. Okay, let's get into it. Now, chapter 1, the delusion chapter, the high before the hail. This is the thesis statement before the crash. So you can look at it as that time when the poet or Taylor Swift actually enters the tortured poets department. The self-harm starts to take place because she's in the delusion. She's thinking that everything is nice and beautiful. She's in love, she's with her beloved, everything is nice and beautiful. Songs that this chapter has is, it's okay, first of all, it starts with Fortnite and the tortured poets department. Now I would like to say that the songs inside this chapter are not really the songs of the story, if that makes sense. They are kind of like the trailer or the delusion. As I said before, they're kind of like the groundwork. So look at them as the thesis statement before the actual study begins. In Fortnite especially, all my mornings are Mondays stuck in an endless February. It's about that 2 week long destined to doomed romance, or those 2 weeks are over already but you're not moving on. I what I love the most about this song is I can relate to it, that something could only be as long as 2 weeks or a fortnight, but it could be so meaningful, it could hit you so hard that it takes ages for you to move on from that. And I think that especially for my narrative, that is the idea that I'm going with. Title track, the tortured poets department. Who else decodes you? Who's gonna love you like me? Like, it's kind of like self-assurance. A horse wants to run away. You could do whatever you want, it is gonna run away. Who's gonna hold you like me? So this whole song is utter nonsense, but in a beautiful way, because I think that's what happens when you can't make sense out of your situation, your love, that tortured affair, but you still want to believe that it is going to happen. Like in the bridge, I love the bridge part of it, especially the line that on the dinner table you took the wedding the rings off our middle fingers and put them on the fingers where people put their wedding rings on, just to show that, oh, my beloved is interested enough in me to look at a future as I am. So these two songs, in my opinion, perfectly give us the start that we need. Guilty as Sin is one of my personal favorites on this album. The songwriting is so rich. I think one of the things that we all appreciate unbiasedly about Swift is she has this talent of painting huge pictures with just a few words. And I think in terms of poetry or art and literature, one of the most appreciated things are using less words and giving bigger ideas. Now, I keep recalling things we never did, the lingering feeling. When you're looking at your time with that person, or it could be about any scenario, something that gives you happiness, you keep adding things to it. Yes, that happened, or it was like that. Your mind plays the very best supercuts of the situations. And one more thing that I like the most about this song is the way she says, "Am I allowed to cry?" I think that is so iconic. She says that twice. Am I allowed to cry? Meaning, what I take from this is I know it's slipping out of my hands, but I still want it, and I keep playing this in my head. and I haven't even done anything. Then why am I guilty as sin? It's kind of like her own guilt coming, that people don't know what's happened, or people haven't figured out. But without even touching his skin, how can I be guilty as sin? Why am I feeling guilty? Do I think it's wrong? Do I think I'm in a delusion, or do I think what I'm doing is not necessarily ethically, but in general wrong? Or am I painting the picture in wrong colors? Am I allowed to cry? I love this song. And then I'm gonna get you back now. Okay, I might get some hate on it. A lot of people are like, no, 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 it is about the climax, it is like ending part, or is it like post breakup? Listen to me, go through the lyrics and tell me if it's not peak delusion. You got somebody, I said I got someone too. Even if it's handcuffed, I'm living here with you. Whether I'm gonna be your wife or I'm gonna smash up your bike, I haven't decided yet, but I'm gonna get you back. That sense of authority of over a person, a lover or a friend, even if it's over, or it might be over soon, or it hasn't even started yet, I am gonna get you back. You can run away from me as much as you can. I know that there is an invisible string tying us together. And I can fix him. No, really, I can. This is a very important song. Now, of course, I did a lot of homework, and funnily enough, I haven't been able to find any strong opinions about this song, neither strong or weak, which is funny because when I was doing my work before, even, or when I just heard it as a normal person, I thought it was a very important song for the narrative. There are so many details in this particular song. So, long story short, throughout the song, she goes again and again about why she is the only one who can fix him. She is the only one her lover needs, and why they are perfect. However, at the very end of the song, she's like, or maybe I can't. Maybe she does have that realization that, oh, okay, maybe I can't. It's like sometimes all you need is listen to yourself. Once she starts to listen to herself and she sees all the problems or all the delusions, she's like, we might have a problem here. And then, but daddy, I love him. Again, a lot of people are gonna show some behaviors in the comments that, oh, it is about them running away, them being together. No, 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 it's not the beginning. No, it is delusion, because it has that classic us against the world narrative. Now, I would like you to know that Taylor Swift's most favorite narrative is us against the world. If you go through her discography, mine, in ours, you belong with me, in love story, call it what you want, she loves this narrative of us against the world. The world hates us, they're coming for our love, and me and my beloved, we're gonna run away, and nobody gets it. Nobody gets us. That is the strongest form and like the highest degree of a love or a delusion, that it's okay, we're fighting against the world. But for us against the world, us has to be one. We have to be together. And is her lover with her, or is it just in her head? That is an important question. Which leads us to our second chapter, the wreckage, the anger and restraint, rage. And I would like to say this is the actual start of the album. Now she's inside the tortured poets department. She has fallen into the trap. The delusion has broken now. This is when the actual story begins. The very first song on this chapter is My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys. Of course, it's all metaphors. In at the very end of the song, even she compares herself to a doll in a box, and she says that her beloved or her lover was better than all those Kens. He actually took her out of the box and left her broken parts, and says you're better off all your broken parts, but I'm not. So that song literally starts with, oh, here we go again. I mean, what else do you need me to say to prove that this is where the story begins? In the bridge, she goes, just say when, we'll play again. So she's just out of her delusion. The heartbreak has just happened, but she's willing to play again. She's willing to break her heart for him again. And after that, so long, London. Now the anger is starting to build up. The utter disappointment of losing herself for free. I'm pissed that I let you have this youth for free. She's angry, she's mad that I spent all my love. It is so funny that in life we end up doing so much for friends or loved ones or things, or sometimes for some dreams that never happen, never take place. You don't get anything out of them, but you've given your very best. So I get that disappointment, because boy, have I been around there. No, but coming back to the topic, all these years, all this time that I was trying to carry us both up the hill, and for what? Number three, the smallest man who ever lived. Now, this chapter, the Wreckage chapter, you will notice that is very high on emotion, because it is when once you get out of your delusion and your heart is actually broken, you are very high on emotions. You're angry, you're passionate, you don't have any answers. So bridge, especially, were you sent by someone who wanted me dead? Were you sleeping with a gun underneath our bed? So were you throughout this planning it, when I was giving you my love, and when I was very clear about my intentions, waiting for me to go to sleep so you could just sabotage me and take everything away from me? And in 50 years, will it be will it be declassified? That how long will it take? When will I know? When will I get the answer? Because I am confused. How could you, and why would you do whatever you did? And you deserve prison, but you won't get time. This is so heart-wrenchingly beautiful and sad. The black dog, I really want you to notice it after this video. Throughout the song, she says screaming in so many ways. The first time when she says old habits die screaming, it is actually screaming, angry. At the second time, it's painful. But the very last time, at the end of the song, when she goes, "'Cause old habit dies screaming," she's given up. Like, she's fighting, she's trying to fight, but every part of her body is tired. Her heart is tired, tortured. So, that goes out to show that transition from anger to the last stage, which is, almost giving up. Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus, that comes right after that. Very important song. Again, I just don't get it. Like songs like this or a few others that we're gonna talk next, and I can fix him. Really, I can. They are very ignored, whereas they are so important for the narrative. Now, Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus, it has a very important idea of self-inflicted pain. The song starts with she saying a hologram of him with somebody named Sophia or Sam, sorry, Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus. Now, a hologram is not something real, it's her imagination. She's saying imagination because, of course, she can't afford to be in front of him. So now she's imagining, and she's imagining him to be out with somebody new, and herself also telling him. And by the way, it's very layered and very complicated. There are so many ideas, but of course there's only so much we can talk about in this video because there are so many songs to get through. One thing is the self-inflicted pain, that she's seeing the images of him being with an internet starlet and whatever, and in reality he couldn't even be with any of them. And she's also with somebody who would have bullied him in school, so she's also telling him, and I'm also out with somebody new, just so you know. So that situation when you're begging to the other person, but at the same time you have so much ego that, oh, but I'm also with somebody new. So those two emotional and egoistic clashes, very important. How did it end? The end of denial, finally realizing, oh, it has ended. But how did it end? Say it once again with feeling, how the death rattle breathing silenced as the soul was leaving, the deflation of our dreaming, leaving me bereft and reeling, my beloved ghost and me sitting in a tree, dying. Now, when I first heard it, I didn't pay that much attention to it, and I was like, dying, and I was like, yeah, it's a wordplay, it's whatever. But when I heard it for the second time, oh, now it is not, of course, literally ghost. It is her thoughts, her memories, her trauma sitting with her in a tree, leaving her haunted. Like she is surrounded by all those voices, all her dreams, all her, pieces of her broken heart that is haunting her. In my opinion, it is actually a sequel to a similar song called Haunted on her 2010 album Speak Now. But then she was, I think, 20, around 19 or 20 when she wrote that song. So it wasn't that intense, but the imagery was there. So it's interesting to see that even after a decade and a half almost, she still has that, signature style of comparing her pain to being haunted. So that just goes out to show that it is something that comes naturally to her. On Albatross, there's not a lot to say, but Who's Afraid of Little Old Me? This is the end of this Wreckage chapter. Now, once the anger or the passion, begging, and the sadness starts to fade away, you start seeing yourself. You start reflecting a little. It's just a hint, because moving on or trying to fix yourself doesn't happen in a linear way. It's up and down. So Who's Afraid of Little Old Me? It is a lot of anger, and you wouldn't survive in the asylum where they raised me. A normal person wouldn't survive, or they wouldn't get what she's been through. You can say that it's not about me, but what if it is? What if it is all about me? Anger has built up and turned into something really haunted and dangerous, which concludes this chapter and brings us to our third chapter, which is self-actualization, the rogue bottom. Now, this is the most important chapter, and this is the most important, part of anybody's story that has been through hell and trying to get back out of it. So the first song on it is Down Bad. I love this song. A lot of people might think that it would belong in her Delusion chapter, but I think it makes perfect sense as the start of the Actualisation. She uses the metaphor of cosmic love to describe the love that didn't last, or a lover who came so close to her and left her. So were you from somewhere else? Were you from Saturn? Were you from, I don't know, were you an alien? Like, where did it go? And for the first time, I felt the cosmic love. But now I'm down bad crying at the gym, and nothing makes sense. If I can't have him, if I can't have us, then nothing really matters. I might just burn everything away. LOML. This is one of the jewels of this album. This is such a beautiful song. The imagery, the words that she uses, and mind you, on this album she does a lot of name calling, and in a way, I love it, because it just goes out to show the mess. It is very unfiltered. That's the beauty of this record. When your impressionist paintings of heaven turned out to be fakes, you took me to hell too. And all at once, the ink bleeds, a con man sells a fool, a get love quick scheme. But I've never felt a hole like this, never before, never since. There's a lot going on there. First, the heaven you gave me, it was fake, but it's okay. At least the hell you gave me, that was all real. A fool who just wanted, get love quick. How we go for get rich quick schemes. So she tried to buy love, and it just bit her in the end. You talked me under the table, talking rings and talking cradles, talking rings, under the table. There's a click it back to the title track in her Delusion chapter, when they were putting rings in on the fingers that people wear wedding rings on. And my favorite line on this whole song is, I'm combing through the braids of lies, I'll never leave, never mind. I love this. Like, braids of lies, she's trying to comb, but your hair needs to be straight to comb, so she can't really comb, so she can't really make sense out of the braid of lies. I would recommend you to listen to this whole song with lyrics. it really makes sense about this whole narrative. There's so much to talk about in this song. I could actually make a whole video dedicated to it, but I hate it here. I hate it here, so I will go to secret gardens in my mind. When you're at your rock bottom, when you're at your very lowest, you need an escape. And artists are very lucky. Artists, painters, poets, singers, writers, any type of artist, they're very lucky because they have an escape. They can escape to wherever they want to go through their creative mind. So she has the key, she goes there. One more important thing about the song is when she says only the gentle survive. That is so vulnerable, that she's trying to comfort her, that it's okay to be gentle, it's okay if I'm not bad enough. In my secret gardens, there is a place where only gentle, where only the good people, where only the tortured like me survive. I look in people's windows. Now, once again, this is one of the most ignored songs, whereas I think it's one of the most important songs. So the idea is, I think we've all been there, when you start to miss somebody and they're not in your life. So how are you going to meet them? Through your imagination. You try to look for their face in different people's faces. When you're in public or when you're watching other people, you try to look for their face. I've done that. And also, this is, again, I would like to link this to the song called The One on her album called Folklore, where she says, I thought I saw you at the bus stop, but I didn't though. The same idea, that she misses that person so much that she's trying to look for them through the window, through the windows of other people. The prophecy. Now, there is a very important detail in the beginning of the song. She goes, I got cursed like Eve got bitten. Was it punishment? Now, that is very interesting and very clever. In reality, it was Eve who bit the apple or the fruit, so it was her mistake and whatever. But here she says, was it punishment? I got cursed like Eve got bitten. So this is also kind of like a thesis statement for this whole saga, that she thinks that, was it my own mistake? Because I was so delusional, I was so blinded by that unavailable love, that I cursed myself, I bit my own self, I hurt myself, and it is a punishment from me to myself that I ended up in this whole mess. The shades of grage. Now, in the bridge, she says, I'm a paperweight in the shades of grage. She could have said gray. She could have said beige. Gray is a color of uncertainty. Okay, it's the teacher in me speaking now. Gray is neither black, neither white. It's in the middle, uncertain. And beige is usually associated with colorless or lifeless things. So not only is she uncertain, but she's also lifeless. She's clueless. She doesn't have any purpose. She doesn't have any hope. This is the worst degree. I think this is a climax. And after that, Cassandra doesn't have a lot of strong, I mean, of course it has strong songwriting, but for this narrative, it's kind of like one of those moments when you're just letting your anger out. So they killed Cassandra first because she feared the worst. Of course, it's about the mythology, and she's referencing that. So yeah, nothing really supporting this narrative that strongly, but I did think that this fit in this chapter, this chapter perfectly. So yeah, Peter. Peter is another song that I could talk about for hours and hours. It is so rich, it is so layered and complex. I won't confess that I waited, but I let the lamps burn. When the men masqueraded, I hoped you'd return. With your feet on the ground, tell me all that you've learned, because love's never lost once perspective is earned. You said you'll come and get me, but you were 25 and the shelf life of those fantasies has expired. I mean, it is so heart-wrenching. She says that I've waited for as long as I could, but now the time has passed. Now, my delusion, my hope of reconciliation, my hope of you coming back, my hope of you maybe think of me, it's dying. So forgive me, Peter. Please know that I tried. She's finally, and okay, I would like to say Peter here is not really, you're gonna hate me, but Peter here is not her lover. Peter here is herself. She's telling this to herself. She's telling this to her heart, that I've given you hopes that maybe it will be okay, maybe I'll get my love, but please forgive me. Now I can't hope anymore. Now I think it's time for us to maybe realize that we need to move on. That is really sad. Once you have that conversation, I really want to know, please tell me in comments, has it ever happened in your life when you had this Peter conversation with yourself, where you sat yourself down and you told yourself that, okay, maybe now it's time for us to let go of this hope? I really want to know. So let me know in the comments. The manuscript. Now, a lot of you might think that no, it is a perfect end to the whole story. No, and I think, in my opinion, it is actually the actualization, because she's talking about this ideas of ending, and uh, she says after that she couldn't really sleep until it was in her mother's bed. That is so vulnerable, because when your heart breaks, when you're at your very low, when you're at your bottom, when you hit your rock bottom, your parents, your mother is the one you turn to. And her love for her mother, she has shown throughout her discography on songs like I'm Only Me When I'm With You, and one song that I'm so scared to even talk about, Soon You Will Get Better, from Lover. That song is so close to my heart. I have such memories with it. Maybe someday I'll talk about that. So yeah, Clara Bow. Uh, how I put this into perspective, or how I put it into this chapter, is that once you've hit your rock bottom, you reflect, of course. And she first reflects on the person who inspired her. Like, she's having a conversation with that person in her head, and then she realizes what it could have been. What if I had made something out of myself, or I did make something out of myself, and I was an inspiration. And she's looking back, and she just can't really make sense out of how did she end up in a mess. And then she looks at somebody new, and she's like, yep, you've got it, you're like Taylor Swift, but you've got an edge she never did. So it is really sad. Like, she's thinking that maybe she should return to how she was. She wants to return to how she was, but she's kind of stuck. So she sees her happiness or herself through a new person. Now there's a lot of talk about who this song is about, but again, we're not getting into it. After that, Bolter. I love this song. It's chill. The only thing that it contributes to this narrative is there's escape in escaping. She's finally getting her senses that, okay, I gotta get my life together and escape. And last song on this is Florida. I don't know, it makes sense that when she's trying to escape from this tortured poets department, this place that made her feel worthless, she wants to run to Florida. And she needs she gets her friend, and she's like, just take me out of here. I need to forget, so take me to Florida. I've got some regrets that I need to bury, so take me to Florida. So she's ready to get out of this torture. Now this finishes up our third chapter, which was rock bottom. Finally, I actually I had to make a correction in my notes. So the resilience, the final chapter, the functioning, the aftermath. Important thing about these songs on this chapter is I want you guys to pay attention to the intros. Of course, I can't play songs in this video because I think they'll be copyrighted, and it's my very first video, and it'll be bad if I get copyright claims in my very first video. So but I really would like you to imagine the intros of these songs, because in this chapter the intros play a really important role. The songs must be on the screen in this chapter. So the resilience chapter starts with, I can do it with a broken heart. And this is when she's getting out of the department, or she's fighting for it. At the very end of the song, okay, again, it's the teacher in me, I go for the little details. At the very end of the song, it's very blurry, but she says, try and come for my job. Now she's telling you, who the do you think I am? Try and come for my job. I'm a real tough kid. I can handle my shit. They said, babe, you gotta fake it till you make it, and I did. Now she, mind you, when she wrote this album, she was at the very top of the world. She was having her Eras tour, which was a global phenomenon. So she was dancing through those tears. And then, thank you, Amy, I wrote 1,000 songs you find uncool. I built a legacy that you can't undo. But when I count the scars, there's a moment of truth that there wouldn't be this if it hadn't been you. So when she's finally getting her act together and she's fixing her, she can realize that I had to be tortured. I had to go through hell and come back. And Robin, the song Where to Go Tiger, Higher and Higher, you will think that she's talking to a child, but I think it's a conversation with herself again. I think just like Peter, Robin is her, Taylor. She's talking to herself. She's talking to herself, way to go, tiger, and time will come for cruel and for mean. You're a just ruler. She's telling herself that it's okay. Whatever people did, the time will come to them. You keep doing you, and you are beautiful, wonderful, amazing, and keep doing what you're doing, and you will be out of here. Fresh out the slammer. This is the intro on this song is so beautiful. It's almost Americana, Western American vibes. It is so beautiful. And okay, as I said earlier, I want you to, okay, you know what? I'm gonna risk it. I hope I don't get copyrighted, but I have to play the intro to make my point. Wait, just listen to this intro. Now, pretty baby, I'm running back home to you. Write down in the comments below, what was the first thought you had when you first heard the song, and or what can you recall, or if you close your eyes, and what do you imagine? I really want to know, because when I first heard it 2 years ago, I still remember to this day, and when I heard it again for this video, it just gives me a sense of somebody actually getting released from the this tortured poets department. She's finally broken the door and she's out and she's running to her lover, but of course it's all metaphors, but she's running and it's almost twilight. It's getting gray, the sun is going down, it's a beautiful evening, it's cool breeze, and she's running to home. And if you think that this is about her going to her lover, she's going to herself. She is going back to herself. She's released herself from that tortured department. It is a letter to herself that now that I know better, I will never lose my baby again. I'm not saying that after releasing from pain or whatever, you can't go to another lover. Of course you can, and you will, and you should if you want to. But here I think it's very important to understand that she has released herself from all the trauma, and now she's running back home to herself. After that, the alchemy. Now here I think the romance begins again. It is very important. Again, I don't know why is it so ignored, but who are we to change the alchemy? And there are a few football references in this song, I think. So yeah, it makes perfect sense because she was having her romance. Okay, here I'm gonna use a name, even though we said that we were not going to be talking about who the songs are, but her boyfriend or fiance, Calvis, oh my god, I forgot his name, Travis, ladies and gentlemen. And the last song, the concluding song, So High School. This song gets hate for no reason at all. Okay, you know what, should I play its intro as well, because I really want you to hear this. Wait. And then the beat goes in. Okay, you can't tell me that this doesn't sound like a perfect ending. Okay, I'm gonna give you two reasons to prove my point. One is, again, sonically, it just starts like that. Everything starts to glow up, and I feel so high school. Because look at you, like she's in love again. I think this is the only pure love song on this album, which makes sense, you know, and it's not in a delusional way. Otherwise, it would have been in the thesis statement, the delusion chapter, but it's not melancholic. It's not a melancholic love song like the opening two tracks of this album, or But Daddy I Love Him for that matter. It is very positive. So it does conclude the whole saga that she's finally out of that asylum and she has finally let go of her ghost and she is with her lover. And the second reason is, I'm gonna go ahead and say that the way Fortnite is a thesis statement to this album, The Tortured Poets Department, so High School is actually a thesis statement to The Life of a Showgirl. I think this song predicted it and we didn't see it. And you know, to further support this narrative, the whole story that I built, when the album came out, Taylor Swift on her Facebook posted this. It is very important. Hear this. The Tortured Poets Department, an anthology of new works that reflect events, opinions, and sentiments from a fleeting and fatalistic moment in time, one that was both sensational and sorrowful in equal measure. This period of the author's life is now over, the chapter closed and boarded up. There is nothing to avenge, no scores to settle once wounds have healed. And upon further reflection, a good number of them turned out to be self-inflicted. The writer is of the firm belief that our tears become wholly in form of ink on a page. Once we have spoken our saddest story, we can be free of it, and then all that's left behind is the tortured poetry. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Now, before signing off, okay, so the reason why I made this platform, this channel, this space is not just to decode, you know, art or pop music in general. Of course, we'll be talking about a lot of other things. You know, by the time this video comes, I will be 27. Oh, it's scary. I'm sitting in so much storm, even if I sound and look calm. But you know, this, yeah. No. So my point is, this is for everybody. This space is for everybody. If you're going through your own storm, if you have your own questions, you know, life doesn't make sense. You could be 18, 27, 35, 49, in 98. No matter how old you are, you're welcome here. So of course, I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining the very first session. And if this lecture connected with your syllabus, please hit a subscribe button. And don't forget to share your thoughts on this new structural track list. And also you can listen to it on Spotify. I have shared the link to it in description. So yeah, class is dismissed. Have a good night and I'll see you next week.